this is a very important disclaimer. This chapter has descriptions of rape, of other disturbing stuff, of physical injuries, and if you do not want to listen about it, please just turn this thing off. It's really disturbing. And I'm recording this disclaimer after the fact, after I recorded half the chapter, because I don't read the book beforehand, so I have no idea what it's about, what's gonna happen. So yes, please be aware, take care, and love you. All right, hello everyone. So today we're continuing our journey into Red Hangover by Dr. Kristen Ghodsee, and we're on part 1, chapter 3. This chapter is called Pieces, and it's a piece of fiction. I have to do a little preface. So this one is not based on real things. Okay. We've never met, but I am your auntie, Romania said, smiling at the child while the orphanage director fidgeted behind her desk. The boy stared at Romania, licking powder off the yellow cheese-flavored pretzel sticks. A generic brand in a clear plastic package, the pretzels cost Romania only 30 stotinki, I guess, at the railway station on her way out of the town, but the boy cherished them. The hungry hollow of his cheeks accented his large brown eyes. Your mother and I had the same father, just different mothers, Romania said. Your grandfather had a lot of children, and we didn't all know each other. The boy said nothing. His eyes traveled from Romania's clean black leather palms up past her 20 diner stockings, 20 diner, what is this? Stockings, and noticed her crisp business suit, her manicured fingernails, and the gold ring she wore on the third finger of her right hand. Romania continued to smile, hoping to make the boy feel at ease. We have no information about Pesher's parents, the director said, glancing at the boy. Left on the steps outside the orphanage when he was only a few months old. Colic. Screamed day and night. Romania straightened and turned towards the middle-aged director, who had dark pouches sagging behind her eyes. Yeah, I guess I'd also have pouches if I was a director of the orphanage. Romania guessed the woman had worked in the orphanage since communist era. The job once paid a good salary with the decent benefits, but everything changed after 1989. It took us forever to track the boy down, Romania said in perfect grammatical Bulgarian. My half-sister apparently got pregnant when she was very, very young, and didn't want to look after the boy. She was dying when she found me a few months ago. She told me she'd left him here in 1994. Very hard times back then, you know. The director nodded, remembering early 1990s, with internal cringe. Chaos once reigned as savvy Bulgarian entrepreneurs. Chaos once reigned as savvy Bulgarian entrepreneurs earned millions running illegal weapons to the Serbs during the Bosnian War. With their ill-gotten riches, they established private syndicates to pillage the remains of Bulgaria's socialist economies. Where have I heard this before? Gangland rivalries and soaring murder rates transformed the little communist nation into emerging democracy of the wild, wild East. Romania turned back to the boy. At 10, his golden skin stretched taut over his protruding collarbone. He savored each pretzel stick, taking tiny bites with his remaining front teeth. Romania saw little intelligence or curiosity in his eyes, and wondered if he could read or write. I'm sorry to say your mother's dead, Romania said to Pesho. I don't think she ever knew your father was, but she asked me to come and get you and take care of you. Would you like to come home and live with me? The boy showed no reaction to the death of the mother he never knew. His eyes brightened when Romania used the word home. She rose from her seat to put her arm over the boy's shoulders. He flinched, and then seemed embarrassed for flinching. He took her hand and nodded up at her, clutching the pretzels against his chest. Romania gazed out of the window. Most Bulgarian orphanages were built in the countryside since fresh air and rural living supposedly benefited the wards. Buses shuttled them to and from local schools where they attempted to mix with other children their own age. But many of the orphans in Bulgaria were Roma children, an ethnic minority of pejoratively called gypsies by those who disdained them. Most teachers ignored them. The other pupils shunned them. Parentless and hated by the ethnic majority, the orphans stuck together until they grew old enough to run away and make a living for themselves in the cities. "I'm going to need some proof of relationships," the orphanage director said in her soft voice. "I can't just let you take him." Romania sat back down. "Ma'am," she said using a formal form of address, "my half-sister got pregnant when she was 14 years old, and the boy was probably born in a camp with a gypsy midwife. There's no birth certificate or records for Pesha's existence. He has lived 10 years without anyone in the world to love him, but now he has a chance for a better life. I am educated and will see to that if he gets a good education." The director narrowed her eyes. "You seem nice, miss, but I've been doing this job for a long time and I know how you people are." Oh, the emphasis on you. You dump them when they are babies, so the state will take care of them. Then someone comes to fetch them when they are old enough to start stealing or whoring or begging on the street. The director pointed to Pesha. "This one will probably be a thief, no? Too dumb for anything else." Romania inhaled. A racist, she thought. Another racist. Oh well, those are the easiest to deal with. They don't really care about the children. I have some documents here. They will suffice to prove my interests are genuine. Romania reached into her Italian leather handbag and pulled out a plain white envelope. She placed it on the desk and slid it across to the director who picked it up and peered inside. 20, 50 left banknotes. 1,000 lefts. About 3 months of the director's salary. Romania folded her hands in her lap. The director sighed. She hesitated for a full 2 minutes, saying nothing as she searched Romania's face. Pesha continued to munch on his pretzel sticks, gazing down at his feet. Romania studied the director, feeling her inner struggle, and for a moment Romania feared she would refuse. It would be only her second refusal, Romania thought, because 1,000 less could buy a lot in the countryside. Some directors accepted the bribe straight away as the compensation for their now abysmal salaries. Others rationalized the money as compensation for the tax funds spent on caring for the Roma children. Romania imagined that some directors put the money into their orphanage's operating fund. One less month to feed meant more food for the other children, less work for the staff, and one less hassle when the child ran away. After the Romanian adoption scandal of the early 1990s, when orphanages sold babies to Western buyers, the post-communist government in neighboring Bulgaria passed a strict law that rendered it nearly impossible to fight foreign parents for abandoned children. Where have I heard this before? During the communist era, the state relished its custody of Roma children, seeing it as an opportunity to modernize the next generation and integrate them into mainstream society. But the discrimination against Roma remained, and after 1989, the new nationalism increased local hatred of the Roma at the same moment when the orphanages lost their funding and the planned economy fell to pieces. The director sighed again, clenching her jaw. Romania sat unmoving, trying to project kindness and responsibility. She had no Roma ancestry, but her dark complexion ensured that most Bulgarians believed she did. At 26 years old, she wasn't old enough to be one of the good gypsies the communists had saved, but she knew how to play the part. She also used her looks. Healthy reddish-brown hair, brushed the tops of her shoulders, and two chorus lines of the thick lashes framed her dark brown eyes. Her mouth was full, her skin smooth and unblemished. People equated beauty with goodness. Oh yeah, people do equate beauty with goodness. That's very unfortunate though. I'll need a copy of your Личная карта. Okay. Личная карта, the director said. Romania grinned, reaching into her purse for the fake personality identity she carried when she did these jobs. No problem at all. What? A fake personality identity? Okay. This is getting more intriguing. Hope it doesn't end badly. Within the hour, Romania drove south towards the Greek-Bulgarian border, with Pesha feasting on an array of candy and potato chips in the passenger seat beside her. After gorging himself, he slept, and Romania increased her speed so she would have time to check into her hotel and freshen up before the meeting. Pesha needed a shower badly, and she hoped she might have time to get him a haircut and buy him some new clothes. At the appointed hour, Romania brought the transformed Pesha to a new cafe on the central square. She scanned the tables. Her contact had not yet arrived. Sit down, she told Pesha. You can order whatever you like before your uncle gets here. You have Greek uncles, did you know that? Pesha smiled. Anything I want? Of course, darling. Even meat? As much as you want. Romania spotted the Greeks crossing the square, and she waved. Here they come. The transaction followed the same pattern as usual. She explained to the child that she had some businesses to see and would leave him to care of his uncles, who would pay the bill. She always explained this as the child's orders arrived at the table, usually five or six different dishes. The food would distract him. She stood and walked into the middle of the square. One of the uncles followed. The envelope is waiting for you at the hotel, he said. She nodded. Any trouble? Not really, Romania said, but it wasn't easy as it usually is. I'll put formal documents in next time, the uncle said. He had once told Romania that his name was Arber. How many more do I have to bring? Romania said. I should be close to paying it all off. Arber nodded. Yes, I've spoken with my associates, and you've done very well. 5 more, and your debts will be cleared. 5 more? I thought we were closer than that. Arber raised his eyebrows. Interest, you know. It accumulates. What is this? What's up with the Balkan accent? Romania closed her eye. She regretted her naivete. But she had loved her father too much to make rational decisions about money. A year earlier, her father had fallen ill. He was only 64, but he'd long retired from the factory, which now stood crumbling on the outskirts of town. He required an operation, but the public hospital wouldn't admit him. He paid into the National Health Service his entire life, but things were different now, and hospital administrators deployed red tape to avoid performing expensive surgeries for the elderly. As her father's condition worsened, Romania borrowed her money for the medicine, the surgery, the bribes, and then more medicine. Since the banks refused to lend, she turned to unofficial lenders. Her parents, her maternal aunt, and her uncle, and Romania all shared one 2-bedroom flat. They scrapped by on meager pensions, and she set their hopes on Romania getting a real job. Romania had graduated with top marks from a special French language secondary school, but the Bulgarian economy choked hopes of a normal life. Most young people left for Sofia or tried to sneak into the Western Europe, seeking the black market work in Italy or Germany. Many girls from Romania's hometown of Russia signed up with employment agencies promising jobs abroad, but her family forbade it. You don't know what you're signing up for, her mother would say. You don't have money to pay for travel, they take your passport and then you're a slave. It's too dangerous. Always listen to your mother, most of the times. As her friends and classmates left, Romania spent 4 years working at her own banitsa shop, baking and selling breakfast pastries for 200 levs a month. dreaming that one day she might find some better job. For 6 glorious months, she worked in the Russe branch of the new bank, but it soon closed for lack of depositors. After the financial collapses of 1990s, Bulgarians preferred to keep their money in the bank of the mattress. Yes, this is where I keep my money as well, in the bank of the mattresses. Oh my god, my cat is meowing like crazy. He's afraid to be alone, but I cannot let him in here. I'm sorry. I hope you don't hear his harrowing meows. When her father died, Romania's family found themselves over the 5,000 levs in debt to some not so nice man. If they sold their flat, they could pay the debt, but they would have nowhere to live. Romania searched for a job, at any legitimate job that would get her out of the bakery, but no one hired her. Each month the debt ballooned, and Freeman bet Romania's uncle as he delivered the flour to the bakery one morning, breaking his nose, 3 ribs, and an arm. "You're a pretty girl." Okay, I'm gonna need to do this voice. This is the local boss. Okay, "You're a pretty girl," the local boss whispered. "Oh, you're a pretty girl." The local boss whispered to Romania across the counter a week later. Kristen had been a minor officer with the secret police before 1989. Now he led one of the Russe syndicates. A secret police turned gangsters. Where have I heard that before? "You could come to work for me. I can always make use of a pretty girl." "No," Romania said in her jaw. "I won't do that. If you have other works, then yes, maybe. But I won't do that." "Why so shy?" Kristen said, leering. She met his stare with defiant eyes. "Dimitarna was my classmate." Krasen's face tightened, understanding her reference. Russe boasted only a small population, and far fewer than 6 degrees separated most people in the city. What does that mean? 6 degrees of what? Kristen and Romania's fathers were... 6 degrees of separation, is that the thing? That's what she refers to? Kristen and Romania's fathers were born in the same year. They grew up in the same young pioneers troop in the 1960s, back when Kristen still aspired to give his life to serve the greater good and the Bulgarian Communist Party. Kristen nodded, taking a banista pastry and a bottle of thick brown boza. He walked out without pain. "What a dick! Fuck you, Kristen! Fuck you!" Romania pushed the air from her lungs and hung her head. Dimitarna Dandelova had been a star pupil of the French gymnasium, a beautiful young woman with many friends. Boys worshipped and teachers phoned. When Dimitarna started straightening her wavy hair, curls disappeared from the collective head of every girl in the school. Romania admired her too, making note of everything she wore, books she read, and her dreams for the future. Dimitarna started dating one of the men in Carson's syndicate, a handsome young athlete chosen from a young age for the Olympic training in wrestling. Athletes turning gangsters, where have I heard that before? The wrestler, oh my god, English, how do you work? The wrestler paid for the breast implants and Dimi won a modeling contract. A few print ads, one television commercial, then off for Milan for runway work. She moved to Sofia, recorded the Chalga album, and left the wrestler for a richer man. Way to go, girl. You're doing good, girl. That's what gangsters deserve. Getting fucking dunked on. Jesus. Drinking happened, and then drugs, and then the god knows what else before Dimi returned to Rose. Rose. I don't know how to say this town. Oh my god, sorry. Something... Drugs, and then god knows what else before Dimi returned to Ruse to make some quick cash. For a hefty sum, High school dreams could come true. Dimi stumbled up into the banista shop some months later, frail and twitchy. "Rumi," she said. "You're Rumi from school." "Hi, Dimi." Dimi scratched her nose. "You sell banista? All the education to sell banista? What a shitty country. What happened to this country?" Romania shrugged. "Bad times, I guess." Dimi straightened. "I need someone to talk to. We went to school together. Can I talk to you? I need someone I know. Someone who knew me before. You know, just talking." Romania met Dimi at a little cafe in front of the railway station, where she sat alone with a tear streaking her gaunt face. So apparently, I was pronouncing the name of the protagonist wrong all the time. The correct name is Rumiana, and this is a very fine sounding name. And I should have done it in the first time. I'm sorry. Dimi told Rumiana how she had borrowed money to go to Milan for the modeling work, but it hadn't panned out, and she met this man whom she loved, and she thought he loved her, but he was just using her, and he forced her to do things with his friends, and then she needed money, and he wouldn't help her, and she couldn't find any work, and she took another loan to go to Paris, where an agency specialized in models from Eastern Europe, and they took her passport to make sure she wouldn't run off, and there she was, in a hotel where all the models lived, but there were so many girls and not enough work, so they couldn't live because they couldn't travel without documents, and it's awful because she hadn't known, and she feels so stupid for not realizing what was happening. Through Dimi's sobs and hiccups, Rumiana understood that Dimi somehow made it back to Rousset with the help of her wrestler ex-boyfriend, still smarting from her betrayal. What is smarting? He forced her to work nights, and it wasn't that bad really, until one of the drunk Johns beat her and sodomized her with a rakia bottle, and then tore her Oh my god, I don't really want to read this sentence. It's very fucking intense, actually. I don't know if I... Oh my god. I think I'm gonna have to do the preface to this episode, like right now. I'll record the content warning and the disclaimer at the start, because wow, this is pretty fucked up. Alright, I read that sentence and it's super fucked up. So if you don't want to hear it, just skip like 10 seconds because it's like really, really, really disturbing. Okay, here it goes. He forced her to work nights, and it wasn't that bad really, until one of the drunk Johns beat her and sodomized her with a Rika bottle and tore her perineum, creating a retrovaginal fistula that required surgery. The feces passed through, creating horrible smells and infections that made it impossible for her to work. "I have no money, and he won't help me," Dimi said. He just laughs at me and tells me that it's my fault for leaving him. The Rossa police found Dimitrina... Oh no! The Rossa police found Dimitrina dead in front of the French gymnasium 2 days later, mutilated by some twisted or vengeful John. Oh my fucking god. Okay. The authorities arrested the wrestler, but he walked free 14 hours later. The case remained unsolved. Rumiana recalled these events as she stood at the center of Sandanski, staring at the Greek man she called Arber, after delivering the boy Pesho. She refused to become a whore, but she needed to pay the family's debt. "I want it in the writing," Rumiana said. "Only 5 more children." Arber smiled. A written document meant nothing in Bulgaria, and Rumiana knew it. "Don't worry," Arber said. "We only need 5 more. There won't be any others after that. You've done well." Rumiana drove back to Rousset, regretting the last 6 months of her life. 3 weeks after the meeting in the bakery, Kristen had set up the initial contact. The man who called himself Arber came to Russe to interview Rumiana. He told her they needed a Bulgarian woman who looked like a Roma to collect children from orphanages, explaining that the Bulgarian adoption laws hindered their ability to find homes with willing Western families. The Greeks could transfer them to Western European institutions where they would have higher chance of adoptions. Do they really do that? Do they just... Alright, I'm pretty confused about what is happening right now. Do they, like... I have doubts that they actually transfer them to Western European institutions, though I really, really want to believe that. And even though it's a fictional story, I'm still very disturbed. Okay, alright. They'll have better life in the West, Albert had told her. Rumiana hesitated. They wanted her to help traffic children out of Bulgaria. For what purpose, she could only guess, but she knew Bulgarians hated the Roma, and many of the kids on Bulgaria's orphanages ended up on the streets of Sofia or Plovdiv anyway. The streets of Rome or Barcelona had to be better. Everything was better in the Western Europe. Still, she shook her head. I've never done anything like this before. Albert looked at his watch. I'll settle your debt with Kristen immediately if you agree to work for us. For how long? Temporarily, Albert said, but no more than a year. Within a week, Albert brought Romania a Fiat Punto and paid to have 3 elegant suits tailored in dark blue, pink, and grey. He bought her black shoes to match the sleek Italian handlebag he pulled out of the trunk of his Mercedes compressor. Nice car. He gave her 2 envelopes. The first one is for you, to cover your expenses. Hotels, gas, food, whatever you need. Manicure your nails and keep your hair conservative. You must make a good impression. Rumiana nodded. The second envelope is for the director of the orphanage. Here is your first assignment. Call this phone number and you will have the exact instructions. Rumiana almost bungled the first job. Her nerves failed when the director asked her to see her fake Lichna Karta, but otherwise the orphanage director seemed delighted to get rid of the defiant 12-year-old girl, and the girl seemed overjoyed to be getting away from the orphanage. Rumiana bought the girl 10 ice creams between Sliven and Sandansky. Every time they passed the gas station, the girl begged for another flavor. On her second job, she secured the release of an autistic 7-year-old boy within an hour of her arrival. The boy eyed Rumiana, perhaps thinking that she looked nothing like a relative, but he too seemed thrilled to escape the orphanage. He said little to her on the 8-hour drive to Sandansky, and only asked for a new Murek chocolate bars when they stopped for gas in Plovdiv. Next, she quote-unquote liberated a sickly 10-year-old boy named Asen, and then a 13-year-old deaf boy named Ivan, and then 11-year-old girl with a cleft lip. All 3 cases, the orphanage directors almost shoved them into Rumiana's car. For each job, Arber had given her the name of the child, its age. I'm gonna be defined and say their age. For each job, Arber had given her the name of the child, their age, and a plausible story about how Rumiana was related to it. Once she had custody of the child, she drove directly to Sandansky, staying in a different hotel and meeting with a different restaurant. She always ensured the children bathed and used her own money to pay for haircuts and new clothing before she presented them with the uncles. Rumiana only encountered a problem near Stara Zagora when she walked into the director's office and noticed portraits of Vladimir Lenin and Todor Zhivkov on the walls. Arber had warned Rumiana to watch for pictures of the foremost communist dictator. Those old communists cling to outmoded ideas, Arber said. Rumiana did everything as scripted, but the director refused to surrender the child, believing that the life in the orphanage was better than a life among lazy and corrupting influence of Roma families, quote-unquote. She nearly chased Rumiana out of her office. Rumiana called Arbor to report her failure, fearing his reactions. That's my fault, he said. We should have done a better job at choosing the child. Keep the director's documents for yourself. I'll arrange another job right away. Can you put the money towards my debt? I want to be done with this, Rumiana said. Don't worry, Arbor said. Only a few more. Rumiana wanted to refuse the money, but her family had so many bills. Okay, I think we're about halfway through. This one is really long and really, really disturbing. I am glad that it's fiction, and I really hope that this chapter is not rooted in reality, because this is absolutely not something I wish for anyone to happen to them in their lives. And this is not fun. This is not fun at all. Okay, so this has been chapter 3, Pieces, by Dr. Kristen Ghodsee, fiction. This one was fiction. Thanks God.